Go live with the stream. All right, we are live because there were like 5 people waiting. Do. Let me just get ready to hit record an audition. New multi-track mix down. Hello, listener. 2022-1018. Wah, wah. All right, I'm ready to hit record.
Oh, 1 second. All right, I hit record.
All right, I've also hit record. All the little wavies look like they're moving just fine. We haven't broken anything. All right. YouTube, watch together. Okay. It's Tuesday, October 18th, 2022. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are talking about Moonbreaker. So, we intended to experiment with and then maybe start doing a Discord thing because, you know, Discord recently announced and released a new feature, Discord Watch Together, where you can, like, watch a YouTube stream.
Activities. It's activities.
Yeah. But you can watch, like, a YouTube stream together.
YouTube together.
So we figured we'd try it. So just before the show, Scott put on a video, happened to be a Geek Nights panel, and feature just doesn't fucking work at all.
Well, okay, so it works.
Well, it'll work for normal people who don't care if they see ads and also don't have good technology.
Right. So first of all, I have YouTube Premium. And so I launched, I picked a Geek Nights video, I put it in Watch Together, and we went to go watch it. And I didn't see anything. I saw a black screen. And the reason I saw a black screen, even though it said the video was playing, is because I have so much ad block in my house. There was an ad playing, and the ad was getting blocked. And so I wasn't able to watch the YouTube video in Discord. And then Rim saw the ad. I guess he has less ad block in his house.
Yep. So I don't have that level of ad block in the house. Like, I don't use an IP hole or anything. I just, like, block ads in my browser because I use the browser for everything.
That also.
But I also pay for YouTube Premium, and it's my own fucking video that we were watching on my own account that I had uploaded. So
we both had YouTube Premium. All the viewers and the person who selected the video had YouTube Premium, and it was trying to show an ad.
Yep, and it showed me the ad. So I saw an ad from YouTube in a YouTube stream, despite the fact that I pay YouTube to not show me ads. So we are not going to use this feature for Geek Nights.
Discord's implementation was not good. Right, so I was hoping that some of the activities are games, which have some potential to be fun, right?
Yep.
You know, Jackbox-ish kind of stuff.
I mean, if I were a product manager at Discord, I would be trying to make Jackbox-like experiences as hard and fast as possible.
Well, that's what they're doing. And what they've done is, I think you get the YouTube Watch Together, and you get one other one for free. But if you have Discord Nitro, which is not free, then you get all of them, basically. And they've added a Discord Nitro like mini plan, which is, I think the normal one is what, $5 a month, $10 a month, something like that, right?
Yeah, I pay for it anyway. I use Discord pretty heavily, but
there's Discord Nitro. So so it's either $10 a month or $100 a year for regular old Nitro. And the features you get if you pay for that are all the activities, right? Fancier emojis, like animated ones, or make your own emojis. You can fancy up your profile. You get 2 server boosts every month, right? And you get a discount if you want to buy more boosts. You get some profile badges. You can upload. The big one for me is you can upload larger files, right? Because a lot, like the iPhone, the default resolution of photos I take with the iPhone.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I pay for the big Discord, is that I upload full-on videos from, like, Overwatch games to Discord just fine.
Yeah, it's like I'll take a photo with my iPhone and try to upload it to Discord channel, and if you don't pay, it's like your photo's too big. Right? And then the last one is that if you go to a channel and you try to stream video or webcam, it's not HD, right? Unless the server is boosted so much that they're all HD. So, and you can use emojis from one server in another server.
Oh my God! So the watch together is even worse. It has a whole bunch of arbitrary restrictions. It only works in the desktop app, no other apps, probably because of licensing agreements with YouTube. And it is limited to 180 minutes, and then you're not allowed to watch anything else, and it kicks everybody out, and you have a cooldown before you're allowed to use it again.
Wow. All right. That's worse. That's even worse. Yeah.
The same timer applies no matter what server or voice chat you're in. And if you're watching by yourself, like no one joins your group, it cuts you off after 30 minutes.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of this, the ads and everything, are all because of YouTube's monetization and embedding rules, is my guess.
Maybe. So the other thing they've done is, along with these new activities, the YouTube one, which is the primary one, they've added this Nitro Basic plan, which is much cheaper. It's only $3 a month, which is a lot cheaper, right? And what you get for this is you get the emoji features, right? That I discussed. You can upload bigger files, but only up to 50 megs, not 100, but still much more than the default, right? That'll probably get you, and that's probably enough to upload photos from your iPhone without trouble, right? You get the badge profile and on your whatever badge on the profile, and you get the custom video background thing when you're in a video chat, right? Backgrounds behind your head, right? Which you also get with the regular Nitro.
Yep. Oh,
you don't get any other Nitro feature. You just get those features. So I guess they must have calculated that there are people who want just those features. But $10 is too much, but $3 will get them to pay, they'll pay the $3, especially if they're, don't have a lot of money, and they'll get money out of people who would otherwise pay $0.
Yep, it's not a bad strategy. Plus, in general, like Discord generally makes good features and makes good decisions, which is why this, the weird ad situation with the watch together is interesting, and that's why I'm pretty sure the problem is YouTube's rules as opposed to Discord knowing that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is we were trying to end around the fact that the Discord stages don't allow video in them.
Yeah, because if they did, we would absolutely stream GeekNights into our own Discord. Like, why not? Hang out there instead of on the YouTube chat.
I figured, well, what if we use the YouTube watch together? We could sort of end around, right? We could just watch together the stream of ourselves, right?
Yep.
And, but I guess that won't work, so.
Yep, I guess I'll go back to, if I want to watch a YouTube together, I will just stream my entire screen via OBS to Discord to all of my friends.
Yep.
So, in some gaming news, I have been playing a ton of Overwatch 2, and I actually have a lot I can say and share about it. So, there's a lot going on here, because Overwatch 2 is basically just like an iterative advancement of Overwatch 1. Like, minor rule set changes, the graphics look different, and...
Right. And they've also, Overwatch 1 no longer exists, right? They just replaced it with Overwatch 2, so Overwatch 2 is the only Overwatch.
Yep. But
no one can ever play Overwatch again. It is not preserved in history.
Yep. In the same way that pretty much all multiplayer games go these days. That's just how the way of the world.
Yeah.
So Overwatch 2 would just be like an update, like the continuance of Overwatch. I would have said it's basically the same as when Counter-Strike went to Counter-Strike Source and Counter-Strike Go. Like, it's that kind of evolution.
Engine, is it?
It's not a new engine, but it does graphically look different, and they have radically changed a number of elements of how the game works. But they simultaneously also made the move to making Overwatch a free-to-play game, which has introduced a whole level of Fortnite, evil monetization, hell world nonsense that was previously not in Overwatch. Because remember, Overwatch previously was a game you paid money for, and you got all of Overwatch. It just worked. Now it's got battle passes and all that same kind of crap that Fortnite has, which increasingly seems to be the only way to monetize an online game enough to continue its existence.
I mean, the vast majority of players, right, are going to shell out a bunch of money, especially if they're not already playing, invested. It's like, hey, here's a game you might enjoy. You can't even play it at all until you pay $60.
Yep.
It's like, and even if people paid $60, it'd be like, here's $60. That's the end of the income. And now, why would you keep maintaining this game when no one else It's like
Yep.
you're not gaining more players.
Now, I would definitely, if there was a game I cared about, like I used to back in the day when I would pay for things because these other models didn't exist, like paying a monthly fee to have access to a significant online game does make sense if the game...
I mean, I'm paying a monthly fee for Virtual Bicycle World.
Yeah. But...
which is basically a video game.
In video games, you can't make enough money doing that. There's basically no way to make money in video games unless you're evil. So basically, most of the weird problems and the complaints and the interesting stuff that's happening around Overwatch 2 right now is directly and solely caused by the fact that it's also now free to play. So in Overwatch 1, there were shitheads who would get banned, like, pretty frequently. Like, not hard to get banned from online games. And they were pretty aggressive about banning toxic people. Like, it worked really well. I'd say a high percentage of the people I reported, I got a notification that they were banned, like, pretty much within a couple of days. So, with Overwatch, when someone got banned, they had to buy the game again if they wanted to keep playing. So, there was a monetary cost to being a piece of shit in the game, which... made a relatively stable ecosystem. But if a game goes free to play, how do you handle that? If a game is free, then people can just keep making an infinite number of free accounts to play the game. So, Overwatch tried a few ways, or Blizzard tried a few ways to get around this. First, they tried to say, for the new Overwatch 2, you actually have to associate a real phone number with your Blizzard account to be able to play Overwatch 2.
Someone just will steal someone's phone number, right?
Oh yeah, but even then, that's
the contacts on your phone and find a phone number and type it in.
Yeah, but then you have to verify with the texting. Like, it basically becomes your two-factor. Sure. So you have to prove it's your phone number, and they will ban you based on your phone number. So they did this, and then a whole other set of stories came out because now a ton of people who wanted to play Overwatch couldn't because they didn't have legitimate phone numbers. The only phone they have is the kinds of phone numbers that are on services.
Kid who doesn't have a phone.
Yeah. But the kids who don't have phones and people who can't afford phones all have phone numbers from these throwaway garbage tier sites that are also used by scammers and trolls and criminals. So if you let those phone numbers be used, the whole system's worthless because the toxic kid can get 100 new phone numbers if they need to. But when they block those services, suddenly a huge number of people who would otherwise play Overwatch 2 now can't because they do not have a phone. So they walk that back a little bit, and they're still trying to sort out what to do. But it's even worse. If you have not played Overwatch before, and you start playing Overwatch 2 brand new from nothing, they actually, on one hand, they did something good. You can't play competitive until you win 50 games in the casual mode, which is a high number of games.
And you make a new account for free. You have to play 50 casual games before you can interfere and troll some competitive games.
Just play,
if
win.
You're a piece of shit. Oh, if you're a piece of shit, how are you going to win 50 casual games without getting banned again? For being a piece of shit.
And that actually makes sense.
Insulate the competitive play from shitty people.
Yep, because the competitive play of any free-to-play game is very easily ruined by the nature of free-to-play and the fact that if a game is free...
They care a lot less if casual play gets ruined.
Exactly, because casual play is casual play. Like, just go in there and shoot people and stop shooting people when you're bored. Like, whatever. I never play casual. So... basically, the way the game...
You have to win 50 games, though?
No, because you don't have to win 50 games. One, if you had an Overwatch 1 account that was active when they made the switch to 2, if you were already playing, you're already in. And you kept all your stuff. Or you can buy a pack for like $20. I don't know how often they'll have these packs, but it's a lot like Fortnite. And the pack is basically a get everything, and it's just like you owned Overwatch 1. You can, quote, unlock all the stuff almost immediately and being competitive really quickly. So pay $20 or win 50 games seems to be the way they're going.
Okay.
In terms of
still wait.
So in terms of player unlocking, because this is a game that has characters.
Right.
Normal players have, like, people like me, people who've played the game, just have every character. If you don't pay for a battle pass, you still get every character, but you have to win enough games to unlock them, and it's a lot of games. Like, you'll very slowly unlock
characters do you get no matter what? Or is it like League of Legends where it rotates who's available?
There's no rotation. That's not a thing in Overwatch. So instead,
So there's a few characters that everyone always has no matter what.
So a new player who does not pay any money gets a tiny selection of characters, not so much as part of a like grindy experience or an unlocking experience, or even to try to get those people to pay money. The idea seems to be that it's a difficult, complex, competitive game, and they still are aiming that part of the game at people who want to play seriously. And it seems like, and I've read a bunch of interviews where they said this pretty much openly, it is a better on-ramp to people learning how to play the game enough to hit this baseline level before we even let them into competitive. So all the casual players who are brand new are playing in a very limited, it's almost like the easy mode of a game like Agricola before you play the real mode.
All right, so if you started playing today, how many characters?
No idea. Some small set. You get like a limited set of characters of each type, and you'll unlock all the
total.
10, 20, 20-ish, 20-something?
20-ish? Okay, so if you wanted to unlock all of them from you just started today, how much money would you have to spend if you did it only with money?
I think $20.
$20 gets you all the characters,
yep.
Just all of them unlocked.
All of them except one, the brand new character they just added for Overwatch 2, that if you have a battle pass, you will get it when you win like 5 games. But if you, and then you have it forever.
$20 and then win. The only thing you can't spend money to get that last character. You just have to win 5 games.
Well, and you have to spend money on the battle pass, which is separate from the pack I mentioned. Like I said, they're doing the same.
The battle pass is separate.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing that Fortnite and every other game does. They have this obfuscated system with a bunch of different.
That catches you up with Overwatch 1 is $20.
Yeah.
And then the battle pass is how much?
I don't actually know because I refuse to buy battle passes in games.
So you don't have the one extra character?
No, I actually do not have the one extra character. Now, I'm going to get that character real quick because I play the game competitively and seriously.
You can't just grind it out of nothing.
Yep, I can just grind it out of nothing, and I can play the character in casual. I can play the character in the practice rooms. I can play the character in custom games. I only can't play the character in ranked competitive.
Oh, so even if you started today, you could use every character just not
in all the like the side modes. It looks like it, yeah.
Okay, so
but
it's only in the competitive mode that you can't use every character that you have to pay money.
Yeah, but to back up a little bit, all of this combined, the reason it sounds confusing is that it is confusing. It is confusing to me.
To be confusing to spend wrong amounts of money.
Yep, I have played Overwatch since the beta of Overwatch 1. I have played Overwatch since the dawn of Overwatch.
An open and clear casino doesn't make as much money as one that's a maze with all kinds of.
Because an honest and open casino, you walk in, they would just like flash some lights in you and then steal your wallet and then kick you out with some booze. It would be a lot more efficient. But
basically, it's in the same pay to win realm as League of Legends, where like it's debatable whether it's pay to win because like not everyone is on a completely even footing. It doesn't cost that much money to get all the competitive things. It's characters. It's not like boosts, right? Like +1 damage costs $1.
Yep. There's no such thing as that because there's a whole other pile of nonsense with the battle passes and everything that I didn't talk about that's even more confusing, but it's 100% cosmetic, so literally doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. But it's basically the same as, that gray area that Netrunner was in, where it's like, yeah, all the cards are available to everyone. There's no collectible bullshit.
Yep.
But some people went out and bought all the cards and some people didn't.
Yep.
And,
and what sucks is that weird edge case, like that liminal zone between pay to win and just a game is blurred because it's a free-to-play game. If this was not a free-to-play game and they used the same model they used in Overwatch 1, then none of this would exist. This entire complex ecosystem of nonsense is solely there to obfuscate how they make money to allow the game to be free-to-play.
Yep.
What sucks, because if it weren't for that capitalist pressure, the idea of the game is free for anyone to play and open, so that, people can try the game out, decide if they like it. It's almost like having a minor league or a casual league that draws people in so that you can have people ascending to the serious competitive play. And I think
we talked about this before when Richard Garfield wrote this article about tournaments being better than ladders.
Yep.
Right? And I completely 100% agree. And no game that I know of has done this yet. It's like all you got to do is make a game where you free to play, whatever. Nobody cares about that. You can do whatever you want. It's not competitive. It's not serious. So it doesn't matter. Make it gambling. Make it, who cares? It doesn't matter. Do whatever the hell you need to do to make money in the non-competitive area of the game, right? All you need to do is say, this is the competitive area of the game, right? The only competitive play are organized tournaments, right? Just like when you play Magic at the local game store, it's a tournament, right? You pay an entry fee to get into the tournament, right? You got to sit there and play all the matches. It might be Swiss, it might be elimination, whatever it is. You got to sit there. If you don't play all the matches, you forfeit. You're out of the tournament, right? You lose.
Now, see, I take a different, personally, I just don't want to even play games with people who need that kind of structure to be able to not just be pieces of shit in the game.
No, this isn't about people being pieces of shit. It's about creating a proper competitive, structure, right?
But what's the competitive structure?
Because anyone can play in at any time, right? You win those. And by winning those, now you can go to the next level of tournaments, right? Whatever.
But the only reason, remember, this is the only reason to have those kinds of ladders and these kinds of games, really, is just so the matchmaking makes sense. So you're not playing against people who are widely out of your own scale.
Matchmaking. It's a tournament. When you go to the local store to play Magic.
Yeah, but Scott, that sucks for a game like this. So then instead of, I'm home from work, I'll play Overwatch for an hour. It's, time to go see what tournaments are happening at 4:00 on Thursday.
No. There's no see what tournaments are happening. There's so many players. You just say join tournament and you join one.
Yeah, what if I only have 30 minutes to play? What if I only have 20 minutes to play?
Then you're not ready for competitive. That's not a competitive thing.
But Scott, why? Why?
You're going to sit down and compete.
Yep.
Right?
You know what though? See,
time for playing serious.
I agree with aspects of what Richard Garfield said, but I absolutely disagree with whatever nonsense you're on about, because the whole point of competitive in a game like Overwatch as opposed to casual is just everyone here is trying their best to win.
That's just casual play. Right?
No. Have you played an online FPS in the last 5 years, Scott? If you play in casual, what I find is that in every game, the unranked mode, most of the players are not even trying to win at all. They're just fucking around.
Yep, listen, if you don't want to play in a tournament, then you're not playing competitively.
See, you say that, Scott, but that's
people.
Scott.
That's going to the game store and playing against whoever happens to be sitting there.
But Scott, that's absolutely 100% not true, because if I go to Overwatch and I click competitive, every single match, 100% of the time, everyone in there is trying super hard to win and taking the game super seriously.
Yeah, but that's because you're playing on some weird ladder nonsense.
No, what do you mean weird ladder nonsense? All competitive means is we matchmake you based on some math.
That math is a ladder. It's not a tournament.
Yeah, and that ladder is solely there to make sure you are playing against people of your same relative skill.
Right, but the ladders do not facilitate a greater overall, competitive structure.
But what is your goal of that greater overall competitive structure? Because the Overwatch structure actually very clearly and directly feeds people into the serious competitive, like the tournament scene, the money scene, the professional play. Through this, the people who get to Diamond tier and ascend to the 3 at the top, those are the people who get pulled up into the professional teams.
Sure, but it's not doing it that way is not as good, right?
How is it not as good? Right? It works fine. I've been playing Overwatch.
Every single non-esport, right? Even tennis, where they have a world ranking, which could be considered a ladder. Yeah. You only get points for the world ranking by playing in tournaments, right? There are no just play games to get points, right? That doesn't exist. It's you enter competitive tournament events, and those events are the things that matter for your overall ranking.
You just sound like a cranky old man who wants
up and down.
You want weird things that nobody else wants. So
no. I think this is, and then the other thing is that, when you have these tournaments as being the only competitive mode of play, there's entry fees and prizes. You can have prizes, right? Because there's entry fees.
Yeah, that also exists, but that's separate, because all this is for is matchmaking, and they changed that too. Instead of showing people the number.
Tournaments, you don't need matchmaking.
Actually, yes, you do. The matchmaking just happens before the tournaments start.
Store to play a Warhammer tournament, is there matchmaking?
If you're talking about that shit tier level, then no, you're probably going to play with people who are radically outside of each other's skill sets.
Right, but if you use like a Swiss structure, right, it's like, yeah, the first couple rounds you might get randomly paired against someone who sucks, but then the rest of the tournament is automatically match made.
But in an online game, as opposed to a physical game where you actually have to go somewhere and schedule things with a large player base, instead, the laddering system of matchmaking just ensures that no matter what, you are always playing every single game with people who are around your ability level. No exceptions, which is way more fun than a random match where, well, now I'm playing against someone who literally can't play. This is going to be really sad for 10 minutes.
I do not agree.
I mean, you don't play games online, really, so...
Right, because they're all like these ladders.
But what do you mean? What about the ladder? Okay. I mean, you don't want to play any of the other games. You didn't play Overwatch 1, which was up your alley when it wasn't free to play.
It's not a game I want to play.
You want to go? We can play Counter-Strike right now.
Yeah.
You can play Fortnite with us.
I don't want to play either.
I just don't think
Netrunner.
Because that was an in-person physical game that required me to pick a specific time to play, as opposed to I can just see who's online in my friend group, hit a button, and we're instantly playing a game 24/7 anytime.
But it was a much better game.
By
like 10,000 fold.
I mean, you say that. I honestly didn't enjoy Netrunner that much. There's a reason I did not.
5 minutes.
Yeah, and I didn't find it that fun.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of like the game we're going to review today. So you got any news?
There isn't. Well, okay. So what was the news?
You were going to talk about that Gundam game.
Oh, yeah.
That I assume you're not going to play because it's not.
It was free. I played it for 10 minutes and then I saw what it was, you know.
All right. So what is it?
Game.
Because I already see, I got to say, I have it on the screen. I just went to the Steam store and I see Gundam game. All reviews mixed. All right. I scroll down a tiny bit and it says, items available for this game. Coins for $10. More coins for $50. More coins for $100. The graphics that you can't see that I'm showing the listener. I know exactly what this game is and there's no way I'm ever going to play it.
No, I played it one time. That's it. So the Gundam game, Gundam Evolution, is a free-to-play FPS, right? It's on Steam. You can play it right now. And it's basically Overwatch, right? Only all the character models are Gundam robots.
I question it's just Overwatch. I don't think you know.
Everyone says it's basically just Overwatch.
Yeah, but I don't think you know what Overwatch is even like.
You have a team of, it's 5-6 people. You have these different roles. You got your support guys, your tank guys, right? You go try to, different objectives on the map, right?
All right, that's extremely facile. I mean,
it's the same FPS nonsense, right? Anyway, so first of all, as a game, it's not even good at the game it is, right? Even if this game was not free to play, pay to win, or anything like that, it's just not a good game. The controls don't feel great. You just die really quickly. The abilities are not fun. The maps are actually the worst part of this game.
Oh, because that's actually one thing. Overwatch has some of the best FPS maps I have ever seen.
These maps in this game, right, they look like they're like if you were getting like some game dev tutorial, like how to make an FPS. Like, these are like just the most generic maps, like a bunch of rocks and a building. It's like, they're so boring, these maps. None of them are exciting. They didn't make Space Colony the map, right? They didn't make outer space or on the surface of a spaceship the map or anything cool Gundam-like. It's just random places, whatever.
They look like Halo maps.
They're really boring. The other thing is that the game, even if it's good or not, does not, at least to me, feel Gundam-y, right? It's like, yeah, your characters are Gundams, and some of their special moves are Gundam special moves, right? But, like you bring up the shield and whatnot, but it doesn't feel like the way it looks when you watch a Gundam anime. If you watch a Gundam anime, Gundams are A, fast,
Yep.
B, they're jumping and flying all over the place.
It's got to be some combination of virtual on type gameplay with...
Virtual on is more of a Gundam game than this.
But there's also got to be people's faces popping up on the screen, yelling at me the entire time.
Exactly. Gundams have all sorts of I
got to tell you, I got to play the arcade Gundam game, and other people in the pod, I couldn't speak Japanese, so it was kind of a problem, but other people could chat with you, and their face would pop up from a camera in the other pod in your screen when they tried to communicate with you on the team.
Yeah, this game doesn't do any of that. Gundam game, Gundam when you watch an anime is like it's an Itano circus. There's a bullet hell. There's just shit flying all over the place, right? Meanwhile, when you play this game, you bring out like the beam rifle. It's like pew, pew. It's not pew, 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 pew. I expect to be shooting lasers all over the fucking place, right? That all do minimal damage, and you need lots and lots of hits to actually hurt anybody. There wasn't a a beam saber or the machine guns in the Gundam's head or anything like. It's like it doesn't feel Gundam-y other than having some character models. So that was a disappointment.
Oh, wow. Even the people who disagree with you and like the gameplay, all the reviews from the people who like it for gameplay are still saying, the payment scheme is so toxic, this game is dead, DOA.
Correct. So this game also, in terms of pay to win, right? Again, just like Overwatch, there's no, like, you can't pay for, like, a shield or armor, or it's all, cosmetic stuff. But there are some Gundams you have to unlock. And to unlock them by grinding would be arduous. Like, you're just not gonna.
I mean, again, considering that there is an option on the front page of the Steam page for this game to spend $99.99 on coins, that is extremely worrying.
Assuming you only spend your currencies on unlocking and not on cosmetic worthless crap, right? You would still have to spend a small fortune, I didn't calculate it, to unlock all of the Gundams, right? It's like, okay, but, people have that same argument like we just talked about. It's borderline pay to win, right? Would Street Fighter be unfair if I only had Ryu? Like, what if Ryu's my main? Then it doesn't matter that I can't be, M. Bison because I don't play M. Bison, right? Like, who cares? But, if you only play one Gundam, what does it matter if you don't unlock the other ones? Here's the problem. This game, unlike, say, Overwatch, I presume, the Gundams that are not unlocked for free automatically are vastly superior.
See, Overwatch.
They did not. The ones that you have to grind or pay to unlock are just better.
Overwatch is set up such that
stronger.
Every single character is on the Pareto frontier at all times, and most of the design tweaks they make in the patches are making sure that frontier remains constant. Every character is viable. Every character is equally useful.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I
mean, developed by Bandai Namco Online already does not give one confidence in this game.
It's disappointing because we had an opportunity to have like a cool Gundam online multiplayer game, which, just that alone, that concept is like S tier. The execution, F tier.
Yep.
Maybe D tier. Maybe.
All right. Put a little marker there. 2 things of the day. But anyway, things of the day, real quick, because I have some really good stuff that I want to save for appropriate days for a reason. So if you don't do like outdoor sportsy stuff, a lot of people like to use the GoPros, but a lot of people lately, because they've gotten cheaper, like to use 360 action cams. So imagine like a GoPro looking camera.
One.
Yeah, but other people make them too, but they're more common now.
Companies making a lot of action cams of all kinds.
Yeah. Which is interesting because there's I don't know. I feel like there is actually a limited audience for them because most people buy one, realize that they're not that good at whatever sport it is that they're videoing themselves doing, and then it collects dust. But this person has shown the best possible use case for a non-super professional to like what you should do with the 360 action cam. This is a 12-second video, and it is delightful. It kind of reminds me of a Syriac animation.
Yep. So the Steam Deck is out, and even though I don't really feel any desire to get one or need one, considering the devices I already possess, I could see that clearly it is popular. People like it, and someone who owns not the great multitude of devices that I own would probably, especially some kid, it's like this could be a great thing to have.
Yeah.
So one thing. I guess minor news, if you somehow missed this big news, in one of the marketing materials for the Steam Deck, a Switch emulator, a screenshot of a Switch emulator appeared. So someone at Valve who is making marketing materials had a Switch emulator installed on the Steam Deck, and they removed that. But anyway, if you want to play, some GBA games or whatever, right? Yeah, sure, you could probably get a GBA emulator on there and all the ROMs because it's just a PC, right? But there's this device you can buy that's a GBA operator, right? Which is like a little USB dock that you can put GBA cartridges into, and presumably, therefore, also Game Boy and Game Boy Color because they're the same slot, kind of. Maybe, I don't know. And then you install the software on the computer, and now you can play that game on that computer, and that's technically not illegal at all in any way, shape, or form. Because you have the cartridge, you didn't download ROMs, the software isn't illegal. This, you can just do it. So somebody took this and plugged it in with a USB cable into their Steam Deck, and now that's like a really great way to play Game Boy games, except for the USB cable and thing flapping around.
This might be a really good way to stream GBA games, which is currently a pain, or most people secretly use an emulator.
Yeah, well, GBA game streaming is actually not difficult. What's difficult is DS game streaming. That's the tough one, right? Some people have managed it, but
I mean, I've done a ton of
GBA.
I did a ton of DS streams back in the day that actually weirdly have a lot of views. I should maybe start that up again. But I just used an emulator and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, but I could see somebody just has to do a little modding here to sort of get this device into a different enclosure, sort of mount it on the back of the Steam Deck, to make it not a cable flapping around, and you got yourself a pretty good thing going here.
Yep, Steam Deck's not terrible hardware. It's just not something Scott or I need for our current use cases.
And I mean, as good as my GBA that's upgraded is, that Steam Deck has a vastly superior screen, right?
Yeah.
And it's probably more comfortable to hold as well.
So in the meta moment, the GeekNights Book Club book, Binti. It's actually, there are 3 books. We're going to talk about all 3 because they're so short. It'll take you like a few hours to read them all. And we're going to do this episode on Thursday.
Yep.
It's about someone who goes to space college, and it's got a lot of little twists and turns along the way. And wait till you meet the desert people. I'll leave it at that. There's good stuff going on in these books. So this will be the book club book, and then Scott's going to reveal his choices, and the GeekNights Book Club will continue in its post-Genji life.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we will be live at PAX Unplugged, maybe me and Scott, maybe just me, on Sunday with an updated version of our Take Your Fucking Turn panel. That's the one that PAX wanted.
Sunday?
Whatever Sunday of PAX Unplugged. Whenever PAX Unplugged is, on Sunday of PAX Unplugged, that will be our panel.
Okay.
I want to say we're in the Crab God Theater this year. I don't have the email open. I just got it. So, yeah, we will be there on Sunday doing a panel. Otherwise,
that would be December 4th.
So I imagine even if Scott and I both go and do the panel, we will only be at PAX Unplugged Sunday because while badges are not sold out, hotels are sold out on Saturday. It is a fully masked and you have to prove vaccination event. Panelists have to wear masks, so we'll be on stage in masks. And yeah, we'll be around at most Sunday. Don't expect to see us Friday or Saturday.
All right.
All right.
Working on the website still. I'm now past the part where I build the way to make it convenient for Rim to upload new episodes.
Hooray! That's the part I'm most looking forward to.
And then I am now, well, it still has more features that could be added to it, but it is vastly superior. And now I am working on the import the data from our current website to the new website part.
Yeah. We had a lot of episodes, and
that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Also, I did realize
or easier.
I was looking at the labels or the tags. We have a extremely inconsistent tagging system of random nonsense in there.
It will remain.
Good.
All right, so today's episode is about a game,
Moonbreaker, which is another free-to-play online game.
Indeed.
Gonna come right out the gate by saying it is early access, so anything we say take with a grain of salt. But
all of these problems could very well be addressed for when the game is fully released. However, for something that's early access, it is quite impressive. Like, you could have fooled me.
Yep. It's tough though, because on one hand, well, it is a really good idea that no one's ever done successfully before. Like I haven't seen someone try this hard. 2, they got a lot of the right people involved. 3, it's almost fun, but as the game is today, it is not actually fun to play.
Yep. So the story of this game is developed by Unknown Worlds, the people who made Natural Selection 2, and Subnautica. Natural Selection, that's the real game, right? It's like, let's just bring that back.
Scott, you want to play NS2?
No, I want to play NS1.
We could probably get that going.
With a bunch of gorgeous RT, Anyway, yeah, those days are never coming back. And it's like literally, Flera, right? The internet name of the person who started it all, right? It's like, I've been on Natural Selection servers, Natural Selection 1 servers, playing with Flera in 2000 something, and today go to the Moonbreaker Discord and it's like Flera person.
F4
later,
everybody F4.
Right, yeah. So it's the same exact team basically. And what this game is, it is a tabletop miniatures game, like fucking Warhammer, but a squad-based one, right? Not 2 men, not a whole army, just a handful of units, right? But recreated digitally. So it's like the units, it's like you put them down on the board and like they actually, they have a little base and they're a little miniature and they don't animate or anything, right? Except when they attack, they spin around or whatever, kind of. But, you move them around, it's like you're playing miniatures. It's more like, visually, it's like Tabletop Simulator, right? You're moving miniatures around.
Or like a battle system, like the games where you would need to measure things, like a unit moves X inches, and you got to deal with nonsense.
There's no grid, there's no hex grid or anything like that, right? You even can paint the miniatures freely, as much as you want. Digital painting, right? So you don't have to have a airbrush and all this mess and equipment in your house and spend money on paints. You can paint miniatures to your heart's content. Multiple paint schemes. You can run wild. There's so many paint.
It's got like inking and washing and dry brushing. Like it is
automatic masking, and
it's going hard on this, which is cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then you can use your paint job when you play, right? So, it sort of makes up for the fact that you don't have that many, at least not right now, don't have that many units to choose from for your army, right? So how does the game actually work? Well, the game itself is actually closer to a Hearthstone type card game than it is to a miniatures game, right?
Yeah.
There is the same sort of Magic the Gathering Hearthstone mana scaling. Like on turn 1, your commander is on the board no matter what. And then you have 1 cinder, which is basically mana, right? And at turn 2, you get 2 cinder. And turn 3, you get 3 cinder, and so forth. And you can bank, if you don't use all your cinder, you can bank up to 3 for the next turn.
Yep. So instead of like Magic the Gathering, where you play a land, now you got 1 land out, you do your thing. Next turn, you play another land. Next turn, you play another land. Now you got 3 land. It just does this. This is just automatic.
Yep. So every unit that's on the board can move, right? Its movement range every turn, right? No matter what, that's free. Every unit can, if it has a base attack, not all of them do. Some of them only have special abilities, but most of them have a base attack, can use its attack if it starts or ends its movement within range of an enemy. So for a melee attack, it has to basically be right next to an enemy when it attacks. But it can attack and then run, or run then attack. The order is not constrained.
Yep.
And for a ranged attack, it just has to have line of sight, and it can attempt to shoot. And if there's, sort of partial cover, you'll sort of get a decrease on your accuracy, right? But if you want, you can get really right up next to a guy and use a ranged attack in melee range, and it's very, very likely to hit. And then there's a random chance of crits, whatever, right? And then units have special abilities. Special abilities cost cinder to use. Right?
Yep. So you might have a guy who costs 3 cinder to put out on the board. Like, cool. That guy might have a power. Spend 2 cinder to lob a bomb of some kind. Yep. Independent of their other actions like moving.
Yep.
So exactly. A lot like a Magic card or a Hearthstone card, except a little miniature.
The final aspect is that you have a hand of randomly selected units from you basically, when you build your army of dudes, there's all the dudes that are in the game, and you can only choose each dude once. You can't make an army with like 2 of the same dude in it, right? So you choose a set of dudes and you draw them all. They're all unique. But obviously your opponent is going to have a lot of the same ones because there's not that many. And then you draw a hand at the start. And if you need to draw more units into your hand, it costs 3 cinder to draw a new unit into your hand.
Like El Grande, you've got people like out in the hinterlands, and you have to pay or do something to bring them on deck, and then you have to pay or do something else to put them out on the board.
Yeah, on deck is in your hand, and then you know what's in your hand, but the deck, you don't know the order of what the dudes are in there, right? And then you play them on the board. When you play them on the board, you just have to play them within range of your main guy. They can't drop anywhere on the board. They have to be within your main guy's area. And the objective of the game is pretty simple, which is kill the other person's main guy.
Yeah.
Whoever's main guy dies first loses. That's it. That's all there is to it.
So in terms of gameplay, like, it's a cool idea. Like, the concept is great, and I wish them luck. But at this current stage, it's not that fun to play. Partly because it is very hard to see what is going on. Like, Scott very smartly painted all his guys just solid green because that's the only way to actually differentiate anything.
Yep.
Like, it's hard to tell the status of anything. All the things on the maps, all the models, everything just kind of merge together in one big mess of pixels. And even I play a guy, and it's hard to keep track of, like, which guys I've moved, which guys I haven't, which guys are out there, which guys are, like, the UX is just not even close to there yet.
I think a lot of it is that, all the information about the status of the game state is there in the UI.
Yep.
But a lot of it, in order to see, you have to click on a guy or hover over a guy and read something, right? It's not, there isn't just this immediate, clear visual clarity of what is up with everything on the board.
Or even just something as simple as, like, Advance Wars. One of the buttons in Advance Wars, as in most games like that, is it'll cycle through all the units you have in some sort of order that have any actions they could still take this turn. Like one last sanity check. The game has nothing like that. I have forgotten to move units so frequently that is a part of the game.
Let's say you got a guy who all he can do is move and attack, no special abilities, right? If you just look at the board, you can't tell by looking at the guy whether he's moved already or not. You have to click on him to see if the move button is lit up.
Yep.
And after you move him, he doesn't look any different. And then has he attacked yet? You can't tell just by looking at him. You have to hover over him or click on him to see, has the guy attacked yet, right?
Even worse, there's no way to undo anything. So if you misclick, like you click kind of fast on a guy and you accidentally move him when you just wanted to see if he could move, well, he moved. That's it. You're screwed. Even though
a lot of times I'll move a guy, he'll just like bump into something and I'm like, oops. And then that's it. Can't move now. You're done. That's your move.
Now, there are real world...
If it was like you have movement distance and you can keep moving until you use up all the distance.
There are real world war games. I'll say Battle System because that's the system I know has this. I will be shocked if anyone listening to Geek Nights even knows what Battle System is, let alone has played it. But it had rules like if you move units, you declare their move first, then you pull out the measuring tape and see what actually happens because you might have over or underestimated or messed something up along the way. And this game arguably could be trying to evoke that kind of feeling, but in effect, it just feels shitty where you move a guy and you're off by like 1 pixel and then your next guy can't move past them and you're just screwed, but there was no way to actually see that would have been the outcome because you're not physically there with tables, so the game doesn't give you any tools to figure this out, and that is frustrating enough to where I hesitate to play the game.
Yeah, it's like, when you're clicking on a guy to move that unit, that's actually a really pretty good user interface. You can see the range of where they can move to, right? You can sort of try different positions. You can tell sort of whether he's going to be in melee range or not based on like this yellow border thing that groups around guys who are in melee range. There's red lines showing you that like which ranged enemy units will be able to have line of sight to your guy.
Yep.
A lot of helpful things, but it's not, and there'll be like these vague white borders that show you like what the range of that guy's special abilities will be. So you can sort of say, I'll move him and he'll get in range for that other guy's special ability like so, right? But what you can't do is sort of get combinations of information, right? Like, okay, if I drop this guy here, well, when I'm dropping a guy from space out of my hand, I can see where I can drop him, but I can't tell, well, if I drop him there, will he then be able to move that far to get in melee range?
Yep.
you can't. It doesn't let you measure a step ahead, right? It's like
now
I can move this guy here, and I can see that there's a space between him and the wall. Is that space big enough for yet this other unit to get through there? If he moves second, maybe I should just move that second unit first to avoid having to ask.
Now, this is some of the stuff that worries me.
I want the other unit to do something else first,
Because if this game were more like those bigger war games, then all those kinds of micro, like, that guy couldn't get through, I misjudged it, would kind of wash out over time due to the scale of the conflict. But this game, the battles, at least in early access, take place in very small, very simple maps. And as a result,
with very few guys,
a 1 pixel mismove is just game over. Like, GG, you've just lost, concede immediately.
It could be very significant.
But
if you
even worse, I don't think this game could ever support larger maps because the mechanics, other than the special powers, are simplistic.
This isn't going to suddenly change into a big army game.
Nope. This is a very small army game, and here's my fundamental worry. All of the factors of how this game plays combined, I feel like in the end, it's just Neuroshima Hex with extra steps. It's Neuroshima Hex with an infinite number of hexes on a tiny map.
Neuroshima Hex, I think it's Hearthstone, except you actually position your dudes instead of just having them in a row. There's actually just complex positioning.
Yep.
Right?
But the problem is because the maps are so small and the movements are so low and the rules for like ranged are extremely simplistic. I think moving and interacting on the map will be obvious and easy, and that will never positioning and cleverness there will not be the factor. The deck and like the macro is the only thing that's going to matter.
The card part of the game, right? Which guys you draw, when do you play them, in what order, right? Is going to matter a lot more than the positioning is just, making it a little bit more complex and interesting than a Hearthstone, right? But it's not the primary thing. It's like you can get over that, right? And what determines who wins and loses is going to be what order you draw your guys, what guys you selected, how you spend your cinder, right? That's the big, decisions that matter the most.
But the problem is, I want the miniatures game. I want the moving the miniatures and fighting with the miniatures with simpler rules on the individual miniatures is more compelling to me than basically just playing Hearthstone that happens to have this map. It almost feels like Magic the Conquering, which again, if any GeekNights listener played that game, let me know, because I'm not convinced that anyone played it except me.
I forgot it existed.
Yeah, it wasn't even official. It was published in Scryed as a variant to Magic, where you would play your creatures onto a little map, and it was just Magic with extra steps. It wasn't good.
No. But yeah, so the thing is, I think if they fix the user interface parts of this game and they increase the number of units to make it much more interesting, like which guys you select, right? And they fix the balance issues, which you haven't mentioned yet. There's a lot to fix here. A lot. That I would actually play the game if they could fix all these things, right? But it's are they going to fix all these things? I'm not that confident.
Yep. Well, I'm also worried about the fact that you get new guys via buying booster packs that you unlock through a grind.
Yes,
there's this whole other mode that I refuse to even play that is literally just grind out cosmetic crap.
Yep. So let's talk about what's going on, with how you pay for the game. This is not a free game. You got to pay for this game, right? Pay real money, buy it, right? It's not free to play. So if you buy the game, I guess the expectation that people have, most people are free to play out there, right, is that if you pay for the game, you should be getting a ton of shit, right, of the consumable coins and whatnot, right? And you kind of do, right? It's basically you pay for the game. It's you're gonna unlock I unlocked all the units in less than 30 minutes, just with the stuff that came with the game, right? So it's yes, it still has that question mark pay to win, but the only thing that will separate players is, do you have all the units unlocked or not?
Yep.
Right? Everything else is cosmetic, and unlocking them all is currently trivial.
Well, just now, Scott picked a character that's in the meta, and I have the default deck. And you know what? It is. It would be. There is literally nothing I could do in the game to beat Scott's character with the deck that I have.
Well, that's a separate issue because that character's broken.
Yeah, that's sort of the fun. The game balance.
They had a tournament, and they had the first tournament. They made people win with like 2 characters.
It's not just that the game balance is not great because it's early access. Like I would expect the game balance to not be there yet in a game like this. It's that I don't think the kinds of powers they have introduced, even in the first set, are balanceable. They have made the same mistake that Magic the Gathering made in Unlimited and Revised, where there were cards that did game-breaking kinds of things that you cannot do in games like this, full stop. These are like the hard rules of game design.
Yep.
Moxes,
every game,
you cannot have a thing like that.
Yep. Every game that has some sort of mana system messes this up, right? It's like in Magic the Gathering, it's like every turn you can play a land if you got one, right? And so your mana scales, hopefully, at 1 per turn, unless you don't draw land, right? And most of the newer games, they got rid of the random part, and they just said 1 per turn. Everyone is scaling up their power at the same rate. Right? And if you bring a guy into the field, you can't use him immediately. You have to wait until next turn, so that way you can't surprise your opponent with any bullshit. And even in Magic the Gathering, the first game that did this kind of stuff, right? It's like, if you want to surprise your opponent with bullshit on their turn, that means you're leaving mana like untapped on your turn, and your opponent can see that you have mana just sitting there waiting for a counter spell, right? So what did this game do? Well, you have the Cinder, right? One of the characters has an ability. For 1 Cinder, they can use this ability on the first turn. They pick one at random, one of the units in their hand, and the cost of that unit goes down by 2.
That is worse than a Mox Emerald in Magic.
That is right. And then wait,
we're talking. That's like a Sol Ring game breaker right there.
So hold on. This character also has 2 other abilities. One other ability the character has is that if there is a unit within range of them that is stunned, which means it can't do anything, right? It's a stunned unit. And when you summon units, they're stunned, and they can't do anything till next turn when the stun wears off. For 2 Cinder, this character can unstun a unit within range. So you can summon a guy that was discounted, immediately activate it, and then it can move and attack immediately and surprise your opponent.
That kind of thing in any game is absolutely unbeatable.
Yep. Wait, and there is one more thing this character can do that is somewhat interesting, but still bad and broken. This character, to balance out the fact that they have these ridiculous abilities, their base attack is just a little 1 damage ranged attack. It's really weak. It doesn't do much, right? However, if that little 1 damage ranged attack, right, which could be boosted, by the way, by other characters doing some, whatever, enhancements or support abilities, right? But anyway, if that main character kills and does the finishing blow, the last hit on an enemy, right, then that character will automatically draw a new guy from the deck to their hand, which typically costs 3 Cinder, right? So that's a way to basically eliminate a 3 Cinder cost by just last hitting a guy, which admittedly, that's sort of a nice mechanic, right? If you do this clever thing that takes planning and consideration, you get a bonus. But that's a huge 3 Cinder bonus. All the abilities should just be about damage or statuses, or nothing should ever give you a free Cinder. In Magic, nothing should ever give you a free mana. In Hearthstone, nothing should ever give you a free mana. Everyone, you had to lock in those hard rules of this is the pace and scale of the game, and you summon a unit, it can't do jack shit till next turn, no matter what. You cannot make abilities to cancel those rules, right? Yes, special abilities on units and cards should break the rules, but those rules should never be touched in every game ever that has messed with those rules, right? Has resulted in brokenness. In Netrunner, cards that let you get ridiculous numbers of credits, they broke the game every single time. It's like there's a pace at which you're supposed to be getting credits. Do not exceed that pace ever, right? It's like the end. Don't do it. And every fucking game does it, including this one.
But I also worry that because the maps are so small, like there's a lot of abilities that stun and like block people from moving, but the map is so small and your movement is so little that those are extremely overpowered as well, and they lock the game up. And it's part of why I was thinking about Neuroshima Hex, because the map is so small and there's so many obstructive powers and such little movement that the game
and that many obstructive powers.
Well, a lot of characters have that character can't move next round.
There's only one character that does that.
Nope, there's another character. There's a character that if it's standing next to someone, they can't move. There's another character. If they hit someone, that person can't move. And those two powers just kind of lock the movement up and make the map less interesting and the deck more important.
Yeah.
The map just doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, well, they could also make more interesting maps that have all kinds of.
I don't think they can though, because the maps have to, by the nature of the core mechanics of the game, be very small. There's very little you can do with maps that small.
Is useless.
Yep.
But they could fill the maps with all sorts of nonsense, right? Like rivers and volcanoes and.
I don't think they could though, because the map's too small relative to the size of the characters for that to matter.
Put all kinds of ridiculous nonsense on the map. It's like, oops, you stood on the river and then it came flowing and it moved your guy, or you do all kinds of stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, but I feel like most of that would become random nonsense that you couldn't reasonably.
You don't make it random. You know when it's gonna happen. It's a decision now.
But there's so little space on the map that you'd be taking up half the map with that stuff.
Make it smaller. Not everything has to be big.
I think the entire map is like 6 of your biggest guy across, and I don't think they could be bigger mechanically.
Maybe
might be 8.
Your biggest guy across.
I'm imagining in my head because I don't have the game open in front of me.
Yeah. Anyway, the last thing about this game is a positive and a negative, right? The positive is that I don't like games where people play slow. You know us. We don't like people playing slow and not taking their turn, right? That's awful. We want people to take their turn, right? Move it along.
We're doing an entire panel on it at PAX Unplugged.
That's right. And I've even considered one of the ideas that I always have in my shit talk hopper is make a game where when the turn timer runs out or
their computer explodes, a spike comes out of your mouse.
Right. Or like a board game where there's simultaneous turns and whoever finishes their turn first gets a benefit, or whoever finishes the turn last, right, gets a penalty. Like just, in some like direct, effect of taking your turn faster to encourage quick play, right? So I'm a person who really loves people to play fast, right? In this game, the turn timer is too damn short. It is too short, right?
Now, you have to understand the enormity of Scott fucking Rubin saying these words.
That's right. It's like every other game, I'm like, hurry it up, take your fucking turn. And in this game, it's too short, right? The decisions to make on the turn, right, can be done pretty quickly. The big decisions, which guys do I play, right? Who am I going to move? But the thing is, because of the user interface, you can't at a glance figure out who's got what statuses on them, right? So it's like you got to sit there hovering over guys and clicking over guys and testing things out just to figure out what's possible. That takes time, right? You can't just see it all at a glance immediately and process it quickly. And then you actually have to execute all of these maneuvers, right? And you want to position guys really carefully on this map that's not just a hex grid, right? Everything's pixel perfect. Like you'll move a guy, it's like you'll try to move a guy a little bit just to get like an extra percentage chance to hit with a ranged attack, right? You're like carefully positioning this circle. And it's like, that takes time. And if you summon a lot of units on the board, if you only got 2 units on the board, no problem, right? 3, still probably no problem. Once you get to 4 or 5, you do not have enough time, especially if you're going to be doing maybe summoning more guys on your turn.
Yep.
It's like,
now this could be okay if, one, you've played the game enough to where you know what all the characters do, which, that's a learning thing. But 2, if the UX of the game gave affordances to at a glance see the statuses of characters, see who moved, all these basic things that the game for some reason lacks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's really hard to actually, especially if you're new and you don't know all the abilities of all the units and you have to read stuff or whatever, you're going to get hit by the turn timer, which sucks because it's like your turn ends, you didn't move all your dudes. It's like,
yep, and you know what? If you have one
do all
turn,
your attacks.
if you have
It's
one
like
turn where you don't use all your dudes, you've lost. It's over. Like, literally GG.
unless the other person messes up too. Right?
Yep.
It's like, that is harsh.
Now,
Especially- it's like,
thankfully,
I'll be sitting there on a turn and I will be doing things constantly. Like I won't be sitting there thinking, wasting time. Like I'm constantly looking at guys, moving them, trying out positions, attacking. And then the turn timer comes up while I'm doing this and I'm still moving units. And then the turn timer ends. And it's like, really? Okay. It's like, that's too short, bro.
So if the UX were better and the things they need to change are so specific and obvious and easy that it'll be a big warning sign if those things don't get changed like in the next 6 months of early access. Like if they don't highlight statuses of characters better, highlight what characters have moved or not moved, let you cycle through characters quickly, then I worry about the future of this game.
Yeah, I think there might be a keyboard shortcut for the cycling, but it's clearly not obvious.
Yeah, it was definitely not obvious. Also, why can't I zoom out all the way? The map's so tiny. Why can't I just zoom out all the way? Zooming in, I know they want to highlight...
Give me the overhead strategic view that gets rid of all the graphics and all the paint jobs.
Like in Civ.
It's like, yeah, just like Civ. Just show me icons. That'll be easier. I'll figure out everything really quickly with just...
Because on one hand, I get that they want to focus on the models, but zooming in zooms in so far that it is worthless unless you're looking at the cool paint jobs. And zooming out, you literally cannot zoom out far enough to like think about the entire map at any given time.
I think also if you could zoom out, that it would be hard to tell the different units apart.
Yep.
Right?
Especially because the way, if you do good paint jobs, nothing in the environment of the map stands out from anything else. So unless you hover over something, it's not clear if that's a game affecting thing or not. Like everything's just a mess of pixels. Even to someone who's played the game a bunch and has a 4K monitor, it's just a mess of pixels. It's hard to tell what's interactive.
I have to click on, other than your main guy who's huge and some other units that really stand out as different. It's like most of just like the units that are just a humanoid. It's like you have to click on them and remember which one that is. It's like, which one is that again? Oh, the grenade one. Which one is that again? Oh, the fire guy. Okay.
And they all kind of look the same. Like when I paint my units, I feel like I'm going to paint all my units like bright blue if they're ranged, bright yellow if they're melee.
That's the one thing you can tell between is range and melee, because that's the only thing that's like a big symbol that's always on the UI no matter what. So like everything should be a symbol just like that. Like there should be a line of symbols at the top of each character, just like that range melee symbol, to show you all their statuses and whatnot and abilities, so that you don't have to click on them or hover over them to see what the deal is.
Yep. So an interesting thing about this game too is, of all people, they got Brendan Sanderson to create an original like universe for this game. And I'm going to read a terrifying sentence from you that I just learned by skimming through the Wikipedia. I got to find it again. It's too good because the listener asked in the chat, which led me down this path, quote, "Have you listened to the audio drama stuff inside the game?" And the answer to that is...
And then I was just like, nah, never mind.
So the game started and I was doing like the tutorial and that first audio drama starts playing. And I was on my laptop and I was also working on some other stuff and I couldn't figure out how to skip it at first.
There's a button in the top right of the user interface that opens up a little media on the main menu.
Yep.
At the top right, and it opens up a little media player, and you can use the media player to play the audio drama. And I listened to it for like 30 seconds, and I was like, I got time for this.
Yep. So I'm just going to read this. Due to the game, this is quoting Wikipedia, due to the game's large roster of characters and Unknown Worlds' intention to support the game for years, Moonbreaker will have a long-form story that will last a decade or longer. He compared the game's storytelling to that of Canterbury Tales, a story told from the perspectives of 30 different pilgrims. I do not have time for that. I do not care.
I mean, do you care about Warhammer's story either? Some people do. Right?
I care about knowing the name of whatever faction I would be playing at a really high level.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been super jazzed about people trying to cram novels and movies into video games directly that don't necessarily interact with the game mechanically in any way.
Yeah, it's not like Half-Life 2. That's the right way to do it.
This game is just play a miniatures game, and also there will be probably hundreds and hundreds and hours of audio drama you can skip.
It's like, here's a miniatures game, and also this MP3s on the side. It's like they're not integrated in any way. You could just sell the MP3s by themselves. So you need to.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
guess the last thing is the we got to talk about the pay to win part of it, right? The currencies. Right?
Oh, and also I got to note, Unknown Worlds has announced that they expect the game to last a decade or longer, and it may potentially go free to play in the future. So be warned.
Yeah. So, you can get their currencies. You can get there's different currencies, some whatever, right? And you can use the currencies to either get cosmetic shit or to get boosters to unlock dudes. But once you unlock all the dudes, like, you're good. There's different rarities of dudes, but that's just different models. It's just cosmetic, right? I mean,
I'm going to dunk them all in one color of paint anyway, so.
Exactly. So then they started off, when I started it, there was this cargo mode, right? And I'm like, what the hell is this cargo mode that everyone was angry about, right? Because there's a bunch of people who weren't interested in competitive play. They're just interested in, like, playing PvE and unlocking stuff. Like, that's all they want to do.
It's funny. The same thing happened with Overwatch. Part of Overwatch 2 is to be able to support all these people who just don't want to play against other people at all, but yet still want to play the game because they care about the lore or the cosmetics for some reason.
I don't care about the lore. I think people just like this feeling of unlocking stuff.
There are definitely people who play Overwatch solely to unlock the cosmetics and, like, listen to the in-game dialogue.
I'm like, don't you enjoy playing the game? And they're like, no. It's like, I don't enjoy playing the game. And I'm like, then why are you playing it? It's like playing the game is its own reward. It's like, if that part is not enjoyable, don't do it.
Which, once again, never trust anything where the story is 100% disentangled from the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, I told that to someone. I said, I just posted in the Discord of, like, the Moonbreaker Discord. I'm like, I didn't, like, insult anyone. I was just like, playing the game is its own reward. I don't care about unlocking stuff. And someone was like, my brain doesn't work that way. And I didn't type this, but I wanted to say, seek help, right? It's like, that's, but anyway, so they had this cargo mode. What is the cargo mode? Well, when I started the game on the first day of early access, the way it worked is you would get cargo tickets. And you get one cargo ticket for free every day, but you could buy more, right? And because I bought the game, I got a few free ones, just like a handful. I used one. And you pay a cargo ticket and you can play cargo mode. And what happens in cargo mode is you get an army of dudes and you fight the AI in a game.
So apparently they tried to make a campaign mode, but they found out they couldn't make it fun. They tried to make a PvE mode, but they also found they couldn't make it fun. And they settled on this cargo mode.
Right. So the cargo mode, the way it works is you drop into a fight against some AI, and they're really easy. You beat them, and then you go into a fight against some harder AI after you beat the first one. And it's like, I think it's 6 or 7 battles in a row if you never lose. But you're basically playing, like, the same deck. So it's like, if your guy dies, it's like, it's like you have this one army to beat 6 or 7, however many enemies in a row, right? Without losing. And it's like, it's pretty tough, actually, to beat all of them, especially because starting with, like, the 3rd or 4th one, to make up for the fact that the AI is not any good at the game, the AI is cheating, right?
Yep.
It has units that are just like, fire a laser and destroy all your dudes and shit, ridiculous nonsense, right? So you have to, be really clever and perfect, always being out of range, using the right combination of abilities, et cetera, in order to win, right? And if you win, what do you get? Well, much like Hearthstone arenas, right? The further you get, the more rewards you get in terms of currencies and other bonuses. So you're just basically spending this cargo ticket and then adding in some skill and strategy to get a payout of currencies and coins and other skins and cosmetic nonsense, right? And so if you're a person who's only playing to unlock things and you don't enjoy playing, all you want to do is play this mode over and over again.
But you need those tickets to play that mode, and you get, like, what, one a day or something?
So you can play the game once a day without paying money for a game that you already paid money for because it's not a free game. Right? So people got hella mad at that, and they said, all right, we're gonna, basically get rid of the tickets so you can play cargo mode all you want, but we're gonna remove some of the rewards from the cargo mode so that you can't just play it forever and get a bunch of free, shit that we're trying to charge money for.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did so far. And I'm like, why? I don't even give a shit about the cargo mode. I played it once to see what it was, and I'll never play it again. So,
Yep, which is another worrying sign that they tried to make an adventure mode and a campaign and all these other modes with their core mechanics. But according to this article, they couldn't make any of them fun or replayable, which leads me to some worries about the fundamental mechanics of this game itself.
I think that's just the problem, we talked about forever, right? Competitive and casual. It's like they're trying to appeal to two audiences.
Yep.
Right? With the same game.
We've only ever done that panel at MagFest in person. It's one of our few, serious panels that's not on YouTube yet. We haven't done the definitive version.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like they put two completely separate games in the same piece of software that share some rules together, right? And they have nothing to do with each other. They have completely separate audiences who are at odds with each other. One audience brings them a lot of money. The other one doesn't bring a lot of money. It just brings loyalty because they care about the game and want to win.
That second scene, the competitive scene for many games, brings the esports and the alternative monetization streams if it gets big enough. Like, you can see a world where Overwatch competitive only makes money from the live streams and the merchandising and the professional play, and casual players, they make money from them because they buy stuff in the game. So there is a way to monetize that, but that's difficult to monetize.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's another good reason to go with tournaments with entry fees. You make money that way.
The thesis of that panel that only people at MagFest have seen, that we spent a lot of time on, and I think we should do again someday with some tweaks, was that it is actually impossible to make a game that will appease competitive and casual players.
I also think that just regardless of what design decisions they make in this game in particular, that a miniatures game of this nature where there are two squads of units that fight until one of them is dead, that game is only going to be any good as a PvP one-on-one game. It's not going to work as a co-op game. It's not going to work as a PvE game. It's only going to work as a competitive game. That, no matter what you do, without making something drastically different, only ever appeal to the competitive audience. It's not going to appeal to a single player audience of grinding.
Unless you did something which capitalism won't allow. If the game were like Advance Wars, in that you had a campaign that was crafted so well to be fun, to play with your deck against a long form campaign, they tried and failed to make a mode like that.
Yep. So Moonbreaker, as I guess the conclusion is that it's early access. It can change. The core concept is like gold almost.
Somebody is going to make a game like this. It might be them. It might be someone else that is going to be the one.
This is something that has not been done before. Painting your own miniatures, genius, right? It's like a miniatures squad-based multiplayer genius, right? The core concept, unbelievable, right?
But it's poisoned by the capitalist need to monetize games in these toxic, obfuscated, randomized, collectible, exploitative ways.
Yep, and it is. It needs a lot more. It's surprisingly polished in many ways, but not polished enough. This thing needs to be polished to Nintendo levels before it can be acceptable.
And remember, you know how Nintendo does that polish? They hire an absolute army of experts to do it.
Yep.
There's a reason they don't make that many games.
It's like, I know I used it as thing of the day before, right? But what's his name has the YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, we linked to it I'll link to it again, I guess.
Smash Brothers guy?
Yep.
What's his name?
Let me find his actual channel.
I can't remember his name right now. I'm going to feel real.
Masashiro Sakurai. On
Sakurai's
Creating
YouTube
Games
channel?
is the channel.
Right. On Sakurai's YouTube channel, some of his videos have shown just some of these small details of polish that go into games. For example, there was one video he talked about pauses. He's like, look, here's a game where when you die, you just die instantly. And here's a game where when an enemy bullet hits you, the game pauses for a fraction of a second to emphasize each time you get hit. He's like, see that? And it's like, if you're not a pro game developer, you don't know that to do that in your games, right? But it makes an enormous difference. And that's just one item of polish. You have to know thousands of small details like that and incorporate them into your game to get it to the Nintendo level.
Yep.
Right?
And right now, it's early access, so maybe we'll get there, but the game lacks most of that kind of polish. The mechanics are not polished, the UX is not polished, and like the graphics are not polished.
Yeah, the graphics are polished in some ways.
They look great. They're just not functional as game graphics.
Yes, it is form over function polish, but some of the function is great.
Yeah.
There's function missing that is,
So anyway, we'll see. I would recommend.
I remain hopeful because this is very close to my alley. It's not a strike, but it is. It's maybe a spare, right?
And I got to say, a game like this would be fantastic in VR as well. If you're just sitting at a table, looking at it in VR and moving the pieces around with your hands.
Oh, you mean like an ARG kind?
Yeah.
Where you have an actual table but no miniatures, and then you can actually move them.
That would be great.
What about ARG VR paint the miniatures?
Oh, see, well, I don't think anyone's done anything like that. I got to make sure because I have not.
One where you could like paint a big blob in 3D in VR, right?
Oh yeah, you could definitely do something like that. I was trying to think if anyone has done anything even remotely like this. There have been a handful of meh VR games that are like, here's a big miniature-driven tabletop-y kind of game, but they're not this kind of game.
Yeah, I'm talking like, actually like careful, slow painting of small things in VR.
Or never mind, like honestly, moving the guy, like the UX could almost be better in VR than it is on a desktop for a game like this if done well. Because then you avoid the problem of everything blends in with everything because it's almost rendered like they're real 3D components, but because of the angle you're looking...
You would see the units sticking up out of the table better.
Yeah, because the problem is they designed it like that, but then when you look at it in-game, you're looking from this angle that flattens everything out, and everything's just a flat, just mess of pixels.
It's it's 3D, but it's...
Yeah, but like look at it, like take the screen up, open your eyes, look at it for a few seconds, close your eyes, and try to remember where fucking anything is.
I think if they would have just made a hex map instead of the free movement,
Yeah, but the free movement is one of the few things I'm actually really interested in. Like, I feel like that's important to this game being worth playing at all.
It can be smaller. It doesn't have to be big old BattleTech hexes. It can be smaller ones.
Nah. Or just light highlighting of characters.
Discreteness. Just to give the movement discreteness.
You need some 2D aura highlighting on the 3D characters based on your angle of view to make them pop. Nothing pops from the UI. That's one of the biggest problems. Like nothing pops.
Right.
We've beaten this horse to death, so
hopefully, this game can, it's come this far. It's still early access.
I'm not giving up on it. I'm gonna try to make the best deck I can, and I'm gonna play it occasionally.
Yeah, I played in a tournament. I plan to try again. I lost obviously every match. I plan to try again. I'm gonna. When I get some time, right?
I'm going to play this the way I played Magic as a kid. I'm going to keep looking at who won tournaments, copy their decks.
Yeah, that's what I did. And also, I think the line I'm going to decide whether to go in on this game is going to happen when it leaves early access. We'll see what state it is in at that point. And if it's in a good state, then I'll go in on it. And if not, I'll be like, well, it was a try.
And if nothing else, Brendan Sanderson fans, even if this game is a complete flop, you'll probably be able to find an archive of the probably hundreds of MP3s they're going to record that are the audio like story of this universe.
Yep. Okay.
And